the Teamsters have launched the Safety and Security First initiative, and its purpose is to place airline consumer safety and security at the top of our national agenda. He has been the first to speak out on issues such as Mexican trucks on U.S. highways, plant closings, and anti-worker trade policy that injures American families and consumers. During his 9-year tenure as the General President, the Teamsters have bargained numerous industry-leading agreements. There is no more fearless voice of the American working people. It is my honor to introduce my President and the General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, James P. Hoffa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's great to be here. Kevin, thank you for being here. Don, thanks for the introduction. And I want to welcome everybody to the Aircraft Maintenance Outsourcing Summit. This is a very important summit, and I'm glad so many people have shown up. The Teamsters are doing this in conjunction with the Business Travel Coalition. Everyone in this room understands what outsourcing can do to airline safety and security. Everybody here has a stake in what we're talking about. Today we have representatives from the airlines, the repair stations, the FAA, Congress, NTSB, and business. And I want to make sure you all stay around because we've got a very impressive list of panelists that are going to be talking about our problems that we face today. Most importantly, I want to thank the Teamsters and the TWA aviation mechanics who are here today, and also the FedEx mechanics, because you are really on the front line. You know what the problems are. You see these airplanes every day. I also want to thank and talk about the 9,000 Teamster mechanics that are at related places, and we have at 11 different airlines. Our members are concerned about outsourcing. Airlines are sending more and more work to contract repair stations overseas. There are repair stations in China, South Korea, Singapore, El Salvador, Mexico, and the Philippines. 10 years ago, about 1/3 of maintenance was outsourced. Today, it's 2/3, and it's growing. No one really knows how much is being outsourced overseas. We do know that today, companies have over 700 repair facilities all over the world that they can use to have planes repaired overseas. This number has doubled since 1994. United Airlines outsourced 45% of its maintenance last year, and that's triple of what they did in the year 2000. Our mechanics are worried about this risky practice. And listen to this, and I know this is probably true. Some of the mechanics don't want their families flying on planes that have been repaired overseas, because you know the truth. And that's what the problem is. We are fighting to make sure that work done overseas meets our standards. We have very tough standards here in the United States, and they want us to believe that because the work is done overseas, there should be a double standard. I know about this because this is the same battle that I'm fighting with Mexican trucks. I've been on Lou Dobbs, I've been on C-SPAN talking about Mexican trucks. It's the same issue. We have high standards here in the United States for trucking and for airline mechanics and background checks, especially since 9/11. But when we go overseas, there are no standards, and we're going to talk about that. And the answer is nobody should stand for that, and we have to take a stand here today to make sure it doesn't happen. To make sure and just talk about this, we're talking about the fact that there have been a number of plane crashes. The terrible crash in North Carolina that was caused by shoddy maintenance. The current system is not working. Sending aircraft repair to badly regulated, poorly qualified contractors is dangerous. It's dangerous for passengers. It's dangerous to our national security. And it's bad business. It's not about foreign-based situations, too. You know, the foreign-based stations are one thing. But then you start talking about outsourcing to other companies in the United States. And believe it or not, they don't have the same standards. U.S. repair stations that do outsource work aren't required to have as many FAA-certified mechanics as ones that are done in-house. They don't have the same drug and alcohol testing programs. And conditions are even worse overseas. Drug and alcohol testing isn't required for foreign-based mechanics. Criminal background checks aren't required for foreign-based people. And they don't have to play by the same rules that we have to. At United Airlines maintenance facility in San Francisco, 94% of the mechanics are FAA certified. At the repair station in Beijing, where United is sending its 777s and its 747s, only 5 of the over 2,100 mechanics are FAA certified. Yes, 5. Now that is shocking. We have high security in the U.S. for anyone who gets near a plane or goes on the tarmac, but security overseas at repair stations is almost non-existent. Here's an example that makes your blood boil. We had, in 2001, a person was arrested at Singapore who was doing repairs on American airplanes. You know why he was arrested? He was a suspected Al-Qaeda member. No background checks. But terrorism isn't the only risk. When you let unskilled mechanics repair airplanes, you get shoddy work. Aviation mechanics see planes returned from overseas contractors every day that have to be put out of service again so they can be repaired by our people here. And everybody here knows that story because I've heard those stories. The planes come back and they have to be repaired twice. According to a recent study, outsourcing caused longer passenger delays than those caused by bad weather or heavy traffic. Outsourcing also is implicated in a number of plane crashes. I talked about the one in North Carolina that was clearly an issue of bad maintenance and bad repair. The question is, what is our government doing about that? What's the FAA doing? What's the answer to all these problems? And I'm not talking about FAA inspectors, because the FAA inspectors have been trying to address this problem and calling for more people working on this and more money and more inspectors. But the government keeps cutting back FAA inspectors. We don't have enough. The union's president of the Professional Airlines System Specialist is Linda Goodrich. Is she here today? Over there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Because they're doing a good job. They realize the problem, but they don't have enough help. And what we've got to do with this summit is to mobilize public opinion about this important problem. You know, you talk about the fact you have to take off your shoes, you can't bring your toiletries on an airplane, but if the same plane goes over to Beijing, anybody can go on that plane. The same thing's true in Mexico. We've got to do something about it. The FAA has worked hard, but they don't have enough people to go and inspect 700 foreign repair stations all over the world. And because of visas and government knowledge, it's impossible to do surprise inspections. It's time for Congress to take decisive action. Today, I hope that we call for a moratorium on all overseas maintenance done overseas. We need a moratorium, and we need it now. And this moratorium should not be lifted until every one of the 700 facilities meets our standards. That's got to be our goal, and we can do it. And we welcome your ideas today. We're going to have many panel members that have firsthand knowledge of what's going on in the industry. And I'm looking forward to listening to all of the different people talking about their firsthand knowledge of what they've seen and what is going on out there. And when you hear some of these stories, and I've talked to people, you can't believe what's going on in Mexico. Well, you can't believe what the stories they will tell you about Beijing and how the planes are maintained over there.